Okay, so the next one we have is the crab position. So much like the quadruped, it's going to be on the opposite side, and we're setting up it to work our posterior chain. So from here, we're going to set up just like so. From a side profile, our body should make capital M in this position here. And most importantly, we want the fingers to be pointing away from our feet. The reason being is when we have the fingers turned out in this position, as the crab is often typically performed, what happens is our shoulders start to round forward. And if we're loading in this position and you already have poor posture, we're pretty much just reconditioning this position and re-emphasizing that poor posture. So we always want to be making sure that we're able to open up the front part of our body. So by doing that, we have to externally rotate the arms and pull the shoulders back into retraction to get that opening part of our anterior chain. So we set up in our position here. Feet are slightly outside of hip width. Hands are behind the hips with the fingers pointing away from the feet. We're going to start in this position here. We're going to pull the shoulders back, squeezing the shoulder blades together. I'm going to tuck my chin to my chest and then slowly slide my chin up, looking forward. Then from here, I'm going to pull my shoulders down, keeping that retraction in my shoulder blades as I lift the hips off the ground. And we'll hold this position here. Now, if you notice, if you look at my lower back, my hip, you'll notice that I'm actually going into a slight anterior pelvic tilt. So that's basically tilting the hips forward. So if you think of the hips as a bowl, you can tilt it forward into an anterior pelvic tilt or tilt it backwards into a posterior pelvic tilt. So to give you some general idea, tilting it forward is the anterior pelvic tilt, and then tilting it back, tucking my tailbone underneath me, is a posterior pelvic tilt. When we get into that crab position, we want to make sure that we have a slight anterior pelvic tilt that we're emphasizing. So as I get into that position again, squeeze my shoulder blades together, I tuck my chin, peel the head back, and then I'm going to pull the shoulders down. And then you'll notice that I'm not in a posterior pelvic tilt, because that's what this would look like. I'm in a slight anterior pelvic tilt and keeping that retraction in my shoulders as I hold this position here. And we want to make sure that the hips stay low to the ground. So one of the things that might break that anterior pelvic tilt is if your hips are coming up too high, then you'll start to have a tendency to go into the posterior pelvic tilt, which we don't want. We want to make sure that the hips are nice and low to the ground here, just like this. And that's our crab position. So I'll show you from the front. Getting into this position here. Just show you again. So I'll do beast